aforementioned sonnet sequence corresponds with readings from a Book of Common Prayer and opens with a poem celebrating Spencer's marriage. One of its poems promises, "My verse your virtues shall eternalise."
I think it's just called Epithalamion. Epithalamion?
And the man is Amoretti.
Amoretti.
Starter. This leader sent Fritz von Holstein to spy on the ambassador to France, Harry von Arnhem, and find evidence to try him for treason. He gained several new territories for his country in the Peace of Nikolsburg, which ended a war in which his forces won the decisive Battle of Königgrätz. This man authorized Adalbert Falk to pass the May laws as...
Also von Bismarck.
Good job.
The villain's name is drowned out during a reading of the Megillah during this holiday, during which participants give gifts of food after fasting the day before. For 10 points each, name this Jewish holiday on the 14th of Adar that celebrates victory over a ruler who sought to bring about the destruction of the Jewish people.
Purim.
This Old Testament book is read on Purim. It tells the story of a woman whom Ahasuerus found beautiful and pleads on behalf of her people at the urging of her cousin Mordecai.
Esther.
This is the aforementioned villain whose name is drowned out when it is read. This prime minister to Ahasuerus sought to kill all the Jews after Mordecai refused to bow to him. Correct. For third. After 6 starters, these scores, Peter,
Make it
please.
25, place 160.
Starter. The von Neumann-Morgenstern theorem gives conditions under which this quantity can be defined for a rational actor. In an Edgeworth box, all gradients of this quantity are parallel along the contract curve. While only order matters in the ordinal type, a player with a concave cardinal type of this curve would not enter some lotteries with positive expected money payoff. A distribution of resources where this could not be increased for anyone without decreasing it for someone else is Pareto efficient. This quantity is constant along indifference curves. Rational people try to maximize for 10 points what measure of satisfaction?
Happiness?
No. No penalty.
Value.
Oh no, that is utility. Economic utility. Next starter. One depiction of this man shows him handing his resignation to Thomas Mifflin. That painting is located in the same building as a work by Constantino Brumidi, in which he holds a sword and is surrounded by 13 angels in heaven. This man is shown next to a table in the Lansdowne portrait, and his apotheosis is on the...
Lord Nelson.
Who's 5? Is on the ceiling of the Capitol Rotunda. Another portrait of him is Gilbert Stuart's Athenaeum portrait. Grant Wood's Parson Weems' fable shows this man holding an axe near a cherry tree, and in...
George Washington.
Yeah.
Sorry.
For 10 points each, answer the following about the Renaissance architect Filippo Brunelleschi. Brunelleschi may be best remembered for designing the dome for a cathedral in this Italian city, which is also home to the Santa Maria Novella and the Uffizi Gallery.
Florence.
Filippo Brunelleschi lost to this man in a competition to design the doors of the octagonal Florence baptistry. Those eastern doors were dubbed the Gates of Paradise by Michelangelo.
Is it Bernini?
No, that is Ghiberti. This building was Brunelleschi's first major architectural commission. It features a long facade with tondos above the columns. Despite drawing from classical designs, it helped usher in a new style of the Renaissance.
No, sorry.
That is the Ospedale degli Innocenti, or the Hospital of the Innocents. We've got 10 for Florence, and start for 10. This speech noted that many people writing rational letters to its speaker had to leave their addresses off their correspondence, and this speech noted that it would be a great betrayal not to talk about what was happening. It mentioned a woman who was forced to let people use her telephone at 7 AM, but that woman's name, Drusilla Cotterill, was kept secret until her death. It took its name from its author's reference to his foreboding, as if he were a Roman looking at the tide.
The Rivers of Blood speech.
Correct. It It can be derived from Huygens' principle or from Fermat's principle of least time. For 10 points each, what is this law named for a Dutch astronomer that relates the angle of refraction of light passing between two media to the indices of refraction of those media?
Snell's law.
When applied to a mechanical system, Fermat's principle has implications for this quantity defined as the time integral of the Lagrangian. The Euler-Lagrange equations governing the values that it may take are equivalent to Newton's laws of motion.
Acceleration.
Answer please.
Acceleration?
No, that's action.
Yeah.
The Euler-Lagrange equations were developed in connection with solutions to this problem. It involves finding a curve on which the time an initially motionless object takes to reach the lowest point is independent of its starting position. Answer please.
Equilibrium?
And that is the Tortichrone problem. An allegorical reading of one letter by this man relates his brother's easier struggle with faith through his choice of a direct path, as opposed to this man's circuitous route up a mountain. This author of The Ascent of Mont Ventoux also wrote an epic poem about the victory at the Battle of Zama by Scipio Africanus. This humanist puns on the name of a... no, it's fine. The name of a woman he fell in love with on Good Friday in his poem, She Used to Let Her Golden Hair...
Dante.
No, that is Petrarch, who was an Italian poet.
Yeah,
Fragments of folk tunes called Popevki comprise most of the music in one ballet by this composer, who wrote a work based on music by Pergolesi that ends with Pimpinella marrying the title character. In addition to Le Noce and Pulcinella, this man also composed a work in which 13 princesses lure Ivan into the castle of the evil Kasjai, who is forced to dance by the title creature. The Sacrifice and Adoration of the Earth are the two sections of his best-known ballet, which opens with a bassoon solo and caused riots at its 1913 Paris... Yes. So, bonuses. This deity was banished from Tahiti for fighting with her sister Namako Akahai, the goddess of the sea. For 10 points each, name this goddess of fire who resides in Kilauea and created several islands via volcanic eruptions.
Hawaii.
That is Pele.
Okay.
Pele is a goddess from the mythology of these people, whose other deities include Io, the source of all who breathed life into Kane, the creator god. Temples from this mythology are called Heiau.
We think Hawaii?
Is it Polynesian or what? Go Hawaii.
Pretty difficult to say, isn't it?
I think it's Hawaii. Hawaii.
Correct.